I really lost my job after everything I did, all the time, all the efforts I put in. It was just for nothing. This video is quite different than a lot of the other videos on my channel. It's very personal, and I don't really know how to say this, but I just lost my engineering job in tech. I wish this was clickbait, but unfortunately it's real. I've talked a lot on this channel about my time working as a mechanical design engineer at Serve Robotics. It was a job I really liked, something I loved doing, and it's what I wanted to do after I graduated. But they're just a tech startup, and like any startup, they need funding from investors to keep going. But clearly we're in a recession and the economy isn't doing quite well. For that reason, we weren't able to get the funding we needed to keep the startup going as well. So they had to let me go. And from my understanding, they also let go about 50% of the employees working there, so I'm not the only one that lost their job. I was debating whether or not I should even make this video because I don't want you to feel bad for me. But at the same time, I decided to make it and tell you this story for a few reasons. First, I don't want to just share my highlights and wins on social media because that's just not real. In life we have ups and downs, and this just happens to be a down that I'm going through right now. Second, on this channel, I really try to show what working as an engineer is really like, and unfortunately, this is just part of it. I'm not the first person to lose their job unexpectedly, and I'm probably not going to be the last. Things change really quickly, and just like that, you can lose your job with no warning signs, no matter how hard you worked. And third, I'm sure there's a bunch of other people that lost their job because of this economy and this recession, so I think, having someone that you can relate to just helps you make you feel a lot better. That being said, here's how it happened. On Thursday, November 17th, 2022, I had left the office around 5 p.m. to go grab dinner with a friend in the city. I got home around midnight, and usually before I go to sleep, I like to check and see what meetings I have the next day so I can be mentally prepared for them. And usually every day around 10 a.m., I have a daily stand-up with my team where we all talk about our current projects and what we have going on. But when I checked my calendar, it was canceled for some reason. And I've worked at the startup for about a year, and it was never canceled unless we had like a holiday or a long weekend. And I noticed instead of that daily stand-up, I had a sync-up with my manager and the VP of hardware engineering at 11:15 a.m. I was a bit confused on why that's there since I barely talked to the VP of hardware engineering. Mainly because he works remotely in Michigan and I work here in California. Most of my communication is really with my mechanical engineering coworkers, some of the designers on the team, and obviously my manager. But I was trying not to overthink too much, so I said, I'll figure it out tomorrow. I went to sleep and just hoped for the best. The next morning, I start my workday like I usually do, and as the clock starts to approach 11 a.m., I start to feel a little anxious, but I try to calm myself down. Then at 11:15, I was about to join the call to see what this is about, but they end up pushing it to 11:30 a.m. So I waited another 15 minutes, just trying my best not to overthink about the outcome. The call then starts. I'm being polite, respectful, asking them about their day, kind of how it's going, just, regular small talk. But the VP just immediately cut me off and said, "Listen, Tamer, Serve Robotics is going through a tough time financially right now, and we have to downsize and let some people go, and unfortunately, you're one of them." Honestly, when I heard that, my heart just sunk, and I was speechless. He continued to talk about why they're doing this, the next steps, etc., but I was just sitting there while he was talking for like 10 minutes in shock. I was just sitting there in silence. I genuinely couldn't believe it. I zoned out for like 10 minutes while he was talking. Eventually, after like 10 or 15 minutes or so, I started to focus again, and I just started talking and expressing how I'm feeling. But obviously, I'm trying my best to be professional and hold back my true emotions. I ask if this is guaranteed, or is there any other way around this, or is there any possibility that, I don't actually be let go? But he says, unfortunately, this is final, and there's not much they can do from their end. He kept reiterating, though, a lot that it's definitely not performance-based. I did a really good job. I was really hardworking, and they're proud of what I did. It's just completely out of their control. Again, he thanked me for my hard work, and then he started talking about a severance package. He said they're going to continue paying for my salary until the end of the month. But I figured I had nothing to lose, so I talked to them and asked them if they can continue paying my salary until the end of the year because of how shocking the situation is, especially since I'm a Canadian citizen working here in California on a TN work visa, so the whole immigration thing can be a little complicated. Also, I'm paying rent here, and the lease that I'm in isn't really that easy to break. Now, they were hesitant at first, but eventually they agreed, which helped ease up the financial burden a bit. The call then ends, and I'm sitting in my room, right here on my desk actually, and out of pure emotion, I just scream, fuck, as loud as I can. I then yell, motherfucker, as well, as loud as I can, just out of pure emotion and pure rage, really. I slam my laptop shut and I start pacing around the room. I'm just confused. I don't know what to do. I then lie down on my bed, and normally I don't ever cry, but for some reason I shed a tear. In those 10 to 15 minutes after the call, I went through so many emotions. I went from being angry and furious and just really upset to being really sad and just confused. I genuinely felt just this weird ball of anger built up inside of me right after the call ended. Looking back, I think there are really two reasons for why I got so emotional. First, I treated this job like more than just work. Whenever I do something in life, I don't like to half-ass anything I do. So whenever it's needed, I would put in extra hours, even come on the weekend if I have to, just to get my projects done. And I was paid salary, so I didn't get any extra money for putting all this overtime in. But I really loved the work, so I actually enjoyed putting in that time so I could learn about engineering and improve my skills. So yeah, it was such a big part of my life, so when it ended so abruptly like that, I was so emotional. Second, this was such a huge shock to me, like I literally did not see this coming at all whatsoever. Literally the day before, I was talking with my manager because we have a weekly one-on-one that we do, and I was telling him about kind of how I plan to go to Canada for the winter break to see my family. And he was, we were just talking, having small banter about that, and he was telling me about the next project I'll be working on in December. So it was good conversation. It didn't seem like there was really anything going on. Also earlier that week, I was at the office talking to the director of supply chain at our startup, and he was telling me how I'd be needed to potentially travel to Asia to support our manufacturing efforts of our next generation of robots. And now all of a sudden I was let go. Anyways, it is what it is. And after talking to my friends about it, I started feeling a bit better and I was able to think a little more rationally. I obviously don't want to burn any bridges, so I texted my close coworkers that I work with on a day-to-day basis, telling them the news. I said something along the lines of, hey, it was great working with you guys, but unfortunately I was let go. Hope we cross paths again in the future. Obviously, when sending out this text to my close coworkers, I didn't know who was still here, who was let go, but I figured I just sent it because it's coming out of pure positive intention. Also, the next day on Saturday, about 24 hours after the call with the VP of Hardware Engineering, I got an email from the CEO of the startup saying something along the lines of, you put your trust in me and the team and I failed you, and for that I'm sorry. It's nice that he sent that email and I appreciate it, but obviously as much as I appreciate it, it really doesn't change my circumstance. Anyways, I'm now filming this video about 36 hours after the call. It's 8 p.m. on Saturday right now, and that call was 11 a.m. yesterday on Friday. So I'm a lot less emotional now, and I've had some time to really think about what happened and see what I learned from this experience. First, work is just work, and no matter what, no job deserves for you to give it your all like that. I remember in July and August of this year, we had a goal of building a certain number of robots that's way higher than any number of robots we've ever built. If we're able to reach that number, then it would help us raise funding and be on our way to succeed. So I really got into that mission, and I'd spend like 12 to 16 hours working per day to help manage the build of these robots and build a good portion of these robots myself as well. I didn't have much time to train jiu-jitsu or make videos, which are both things that I really love to do, but I decided to put them aside for these few weeks to really focus on work. So looking back, I realized the sacrifice honestly wasn't worth it at all. There's no point of me to put in 12 to 16 hour days if I'm just getting paid to do my 8 hours. Second, when things like this happen, obviously it's good to take time and think about it on your own, but it helps a lot when you talk to other people about it. Third, always negotiate and haggle. Growing up, I saw my dad and my grandfather haggle a lot whenever it comes to money. So I usually try to do the same. Again, they had initially offered to pay my salary till the end of November, but I talked about it and I negotiated with them and explained my whole TN visa predicament, and they pushed it and are going to be paying my salary to the end of December. So that's amazing, and I wasn't going to be able to get that if I didn't haggle or negotiate with them at all. It gives me more time to job hunt while still being able to pay for my expenses. Fourth, when I was getting paid, I'm thankful that I wasn't just spending all my money. I saved, I invested it just in case a day like this comes. Anyways, with this news, although I'm a little lost and obviously confused, it's time to think about like next steps. Obviously, I spent a lot of time debating and thinking about what it is I want to do next. I know for sure I still want to work as an engineer. I really don't know where. Maybe I'll stay in California, but I also thought it would be cool to potentially get the chance to work and live in New York City or even Europe. I think that would also be pretty cool. So yeah, I really don't know where I want to work next, but it's just a matter of applying to jobs and kind of seeing where I end up. First things first, I obviously just have to update my resume and portfolio with my recent work experience, probably send it out to my network, my friends, my coworkers, my colleagues, kind of see who's looking to hire. The more people that know I'm looking for a job, hopefully that'll help, speed up the process of getting a job. I'll also spend some time applying to jobs on LinkedIn and all the locations that interest me and for all the companies that I think are pretty cool to work for. I'll try to take this opportunity to document my job hunting process, doing all the things that I always preach in my videos, and hopefully, you can also learn from it as well. I'll also definitely still keep making the same type of content on this channel, so you have nothing to worry about. Also, a couple of my next videos were filmed before I lost my job, so if you hear me talking about work in those videos, that's why. Also, I am aware that many other people lost their jobs during this recession, especially those that worked at Twitter, Facebook, Tesla, and a bunch of other startups. So I know I'm not special, but that does mean the market will definitely be saturated with a lot of talent. So it will be an interesting job hunting process. But anyways, if you're still watching this far, I genuinely appreciate it. I'm still trying to figure out this whole situation, what it is I want to do next, because it hasn't even been 48 hours yet. But inshallah, I'll be back on my feet soon.